Hello, everyone. Welcome to WT Carousel Podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Crystal.
And we're going to talk about a park thing.
Yes, we're not going to talk about Eartha Kitt right now.
We're not going to talk about Eartha Kitt right now, even though we were just talking about Eartha Kitt and how I actually do not embody Eartha Kitt. I love Eartha Kitt, but I don't think that I would do a very good job in all sorts of
The reason
ways.
this came up, just for context, is all the buttons and levers that we press before doing this. Occasionally, Ian will pull the Yzma.
Yeah, throw the lever, Kronk.
And he doesn't do that good of an Eartha Kitt impersonation. It's adorable.
It's not easy to do. It's very distinctive. Anyway,
moving on.
Back to the original
Back to the content of this episode. I went to Epcot's International Festival of the Arts.
Yes.
And so instead of doing the like the festival just started, here's what to anticipate, we just decided to do a review this round.
Yeah.
Kind of go over what was here this, occasion, and if you're able to make it in the week in between this episode going live and
timing, it
happens.
Thing.
Life is kind of crazy, but hey, we got someone on the ground down there, aka me, to go through it all.
Look at it. So that's better than we sometimes do. So we got that going for us. What do you want from us?
Don't ask that question. They're gonna ask for.
Oh yeah, no, never
things.
mind. No, it's fine. It's fine. So
you love us as we are.
Please love us as we are. So, International Festival of the Arts is, one of just as a very basic, is basically just one of Epcot's many
four festivals
that are not additional hard ticketed. They are just, you can go in and they've got additional stuff that is unique and this is a pretty short one.
Yes, this is outside of the Christmas one. This is the shortest.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't even include the Christmas festival.
Yeah, I usually forget that it exists.
I mean, it's the festival of the holidays.
Right.
But it's like just Christmas, and Disney's just celebrating Christmas, so it's not necessarily a park exclusive.
Right.
Whereas the International Festival of the Arts is an Epcot exclusive festival.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are kind of the basics of, obviously, like international food and wine, you've got all food and wine. Wow, we're great. We're just
We're on a roll.
Top level stuff here today.
Let's do this.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, and
and then Flower and Garden has
flowers
and butterflies.
So usually there's something that's kind of unique to it. Like definitely for me, especially with food and wine, because I keep ending up there at food and wine, is the fact that you've got all of the words. I'm gonna have words and it's gonna be fine. So like you've got the really unique foods, that are for each. They really build it out and make it really cool. Plus, the alcohol they have on site is interesting and all that good jazz. So it really does lend itself both in terms of Epcot and the name of the festival to make it work. So this one I've always been more confused by because I don't know exactly what it does.
Well, and I love this festival because it showcases arts. And I know that sounds like it could be very specific, but it can also be very broad.
Yeah.
And because of that, it gives a lot more diversity to the options in Epcot for the festival.
Sure.
Unlike a Flower and Garden, Flower and Garden, and Food and Wine, where their focus is food or their focus is plants.
Right.
This one, they have things like live artists working on stuff, which I have videos of.
Okay.
They have Broadway performers doing shows at night because, stage performance is another form of art.
Yeah.
They take more time in the food booths to construct the food because they're more concerned about the plating, the art of plating the food, than they are necessarily the flavor content, which I mean, the food's still delicious, but that's not the focus.
Right.
And so you walk around and it feels like you're at a festival. But like you're walking down the street of like this summer festival or this arts festival in your big city near you.
Sure.
And so it has lots of different vendors, and it's not even all Disney focused art either. So there was a booth that had hand carved rocking horses, not just horses, but like rocking dragons and rocking, lots of different stuff.
That's cool.
They obviously had a bunch of Disney artists, some of them, like I said, working on art right there. They have charcoal and chalk art that they have every day, fresh and new on the sidewalks, including like 3D.
Love a sucker. I'm a sucker for chalk art.
Yeah,
That's
3D chalk art that they have you stand in one area and you can, either take a photo or be part of it. And they say stand here and you are like in the photo, which is really neat as
and
well.
You just like jump in and you're like in with Dick Van Dyke and a bunch of penguins.
Of course, totally. That's how we work. That's what ends up happening.
Wonderful.
There's my favorite part this year was the paint by numbers, because they have a huge wall that is just a free to do paint by number. You go up and they give you a little foam sponge and a little like ramekin of some paints.
Yeah.
And they give you the number and they say paint X number of squares. And when we went, my friend Mike, who was with us, is rather tall. She's like, you get this one, paint as high as you can, because you are doing the sky.
The sky now. Congratulations.
And that time also, it was a lower populous day, so they were like, paint as many squares as you want. Yeah. And so we kind of went ham on that, and I ended up with paint all over me, which was fun. In the other photos, speaking of photos, they also offer a variety of photo pass options for you to get into famous works of art. So I was in a couple Van Goghs. We did the fording of whatever river with Washington. I know I'm a horrible American not knowing.
Delaware?
Sure.
I'm gonna say Delaware. If I got that wrong, oops.
There was the Screamer and the Mona Lisa that you were part of. And so they really take a look at different aspects of art and include it in there. They have they moved the animation class that you can do, the sketch a character class, to the American Pavilion, so that way more people could participate. They gave you clipboard and your piece of paper and a pencil, and they had big screens up so you could follow along.
Was that in the building or was that like out
No,
front?
It was on the actual pavilion where they had the big like musical performances and everything in the America Pavilion.
Okay.
Yeah, so
cool.
they moved that. That one only had 2 opportunities a day to do it, and by the time we got up to America, it was already past them, so we weren't able to participate. But it's another really good option to be able to enjoy, as well as the new movies and videos and the 360s, circle visions, and all of that that are out right now too, which we will be having an episode on that later.
Yes.
But it has to do so much with all the different aspects of art. It's just I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it being like super holistic. Like I kind of was like fine art, and I just kind of wrote it off that way. But do they branch out into things like I was gonna think of other stuff. So like you're saying like video. Do they get into like kind of more fringy stuff like food? I mean, I know that food is like already covered in other stuff, but do they like talk about? Do they do like art kind of food, like plating and stuff? Did you say that?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I have a whole video that will probably include in this. I went to a couple different booths. The one that I took the video of is the deconstructed booth, where they made me a deconstructed Reuben.
So there's a video, but what does that entail for those people who are listening?
So basically it is a video of me just staring into their kitchen, and all you see is their backs for the most part. So, super quality photo when they're working, on the opposite side. But they are basically putting together this plate of the food. And so a Reuben is basically, a sandwich. It's breads and sauerkraut and corned beef and a cheese and dressing. Mm-hmm. Squish it together, maybe put a pickle there. And so this time they gave me like this. It was sauerkraut and hold on, I have I have the official stuff right here. Let's look at it
Oh.
so they can deconstruct a Reuben.
There we go.
Sliced corned beef, rye crusted sauerkraut and Jarlsberg with broken Thousand Island dressing.
Okay, why is it broken?
So it wasn't well mixed where the oil separated from the creamy side of it.
Yeah.
So it was deconstructed. I mean, it was just
They went
all
all in
little
on that being-
pieces. And then they put a pickle on top.
That's cool. So you kind of
Just a little
did you,
pickle.
like eat it with a spoon,
fork.
because
Yeah.
it's like because it was rye encrusted sauerkraut.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like it could be delicious.
But yeah, because it was a cake. The Jarlsberg and sauerkraut was one like mixed cake.
Oh, okay.
And so I was cutting that into little bits and then taking off some of the corned beef and then rubbing it around in the Thousand Island dressing and then
really
making
cool.
a big old mess, and it was delicious.
Only good. Is it a big old mess? It's not even good, if it's not such a big old mess.
But it was all about the presentation. I've seen in years past where they've actually done like full on like bread rings standing on the edge with like the lovely sauces floating through the middle and all this other stuff, and
Wonderful.
it's really interesting how they focus more about the presentation of the food.
Right.
But it's still good food.
Still good food.
It's still good food. Like I had the cupcake that was at Sunshine Seasons, and this wasn't part of the quote unquote festival. It wasn't in your little booklet that you get along with it, but it was themed. Their monthly cupcake was themed to the Festival of the Arts.
Sure.
So the cake itself was a multicolored cake, like one of those, not a confetti cake, but where they mix like all the primary color batter in there.
Gotcha.
And then the outside they covered in peanut butter.
Oops.
Yep. So this is why I had this one out without him. Peanut butter frosting. And then on top they splattered a whole bunch of edible food coloring and had like this little white chocolate easel that or not easel, paint palette.
Yeah.
And then they had like a little pretzel stick with the end dipped in chocolate with some color on it, so it looked like a little paintbrush. And I mean, it was really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
That thing was so rich, I could not eat the whole thing.
Right. I bet.
But they just really focused on presentation again.
Yeah.
And so going over the other things that I had that day, I had the lobster chips, which were at Refreshment Port. Chips.
Yep.
Hold on.
They just like
let me pull it up here.
She's got her book.
Lobster chips, house-made chips, lobster bisque, cheese sauce, pickled jalapenos, and a citrus cream. And they were delicious.
I bet.
So if you have any sort of connection to last year's Food and Wine Festival with the flavors from fire, the corned beef, that is very similar to what this was, and it was delicious, and I would eat more of it.
Put it in my belly.
Nom.
Yes.
And then the other big thing that I had was from the Morocco Pavilion, which they have they call it the Mosaic Canteen. And so what they were focusing on here, because each one of these places have different, intentions. So deconstructed.
Right.
They have Pop Eats, which is more like, the pop style of art. Bright, bold colors, that sort of thing. Yes, they have a Pop-Tart there. I didn't try it. This one was the Mosaic Canteen. And so they made a flatbread, but it was on a square flatbread. And the way that they decorated it, the items were za'atar, the Mediterranean flatbread was za'atar, olive oil, artichoke, olives, mozzarella, and feta cheese.
Ooh.
And so,
Got the vapors.
I know. It was pretty dang good.
Sounds good.
But it was laid out beautifully in this beautiful little square. And I love how they brought in some of the feels of Morocco, and specifically their architectural design is very much pattern oriented,
right?
Because the glassware and everything, they tried to mimic that in the flatbread, and it was beautiful. But I ate it, and it was delicious.
Yeah, and that makes sense for to follow that pattern, because that was like the big thing when they built the Morocco Pavilion, because it's the only pavilion sponsored by the actual government of that country, and they were like, they sent over the architect and everything. I'm sure we'll get into this in a future episode, but it makes sense that they kind of followed that pattern when they went out and did that, because that's a neat deal.
Yeah, there aren't going to be as many food stops as there are in the other festivals, but that's okay. It does take a little bit longer for you to for them to put together the meal for you, but that's because again, they're focusing on the plating. So like your sushi donut that you get from Japan, yes, it is in the shape of a donut, but it is sushi.
I gave a look to the camera, so if you're listening, I'm so sorry. That was
but so be patient with the food. But another thing that they do is they really focus on bringing characters to life with art as well. And so throughout each of the pavilions, you're going to find other random, they call it chalk art, but I'm pretty sure it's just a sticker. But they have the intellectual properties for the corresponding pavilions being featured in some way. So this is where in like England, on the side of one of the buildings near the tea garden, kind of where Alice normally meets, there was actually Peter Pan's shadow over there. Or if you're in China, there looks like an exploded hole with Mushu pointing at Cricky, trying to blame him for it. And those sorts of little
little nods.
Little additions were kind of cute, as well as there is the standard in any festival that Epcot does. They have kind of a hide and seek sort of thing. This time was Figment hiding in classical art.
That's actually very cool.
And so that was kind of fun as well. Figment is actually the mascot, not just for Epcot, but actually for this festival. So almost all of the merchandising was Figment based. In fact, the kind of theming this year I loved. It was like paint, and not like easel painting, but like paint cans, and they're gonna like paint your house sort of painters.
Well, that kind of makes sense on a different level, because with Epcot's major construction, it kind of makes a lot of sense to have like being like, hey, look, we're doing a fresh coat of paint.
Yep. But yeah, so that was really fun. They had purses like that. They had the t-shirts in actual metal paint cans that you could buy.
That's so cool.
The Spirit jersey, on the back of it, it says, choose your Figment with Pigment. Or Pigment with Figment.
Okay.
And there's a picture of Pigment like rolling paint on the shirt, and so the top half where he's rolling is orange, and where he is it's purple. And so I mean it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed the theming of it this year.
Neat.
But yeah, so it was a really good time. I wish I had time to do more. This is definitely one of those festivals where I plan more than one day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to actually be able to step in and do everything, we stopped at as many of the art booths as possible.
Right.
I did get some postcards from the...
Oh, yeah. Those are neat.
From one of... You say neat a lot today.
Did I say neat a lot today?
Yes, you are saying neat a lot today. It's fine. Cool. It is neat, but...
It is neat.
I
Not
got
wrong,
some...
I'm just...
I got some postcards. Get the glare out of there a little bit. See if we can... Here, let's hide our faces. Will it focus? A little bit better.
No, it's... yeah. Well,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But I got them for my office since I like to use Disney postcards as art around my cubicle.
Sure.
It's perfect sizing. And so this allows me to take a little bit of that home. And then when we got done with our paint by numbers, they also gave us a postcard as well of what the image is supposed to look like, which you can totally not see at all. But it's basically the different pavilions.
Pull it back a little bit closer to us, and it might be a little bit better.
There we go. That's better. I'm still not understanding how angles work.
Light, physics.
But that was
stuff.
super fun, and that was one that you couldn't really see until you stepped back. Like I was like right up on it and painting by the colors, and I could not see at all what I was doing.
Right.
And then I did get my annual pass holder magnet, which looks a little bit more like brush stroke to Mickey this round.
I didn't see it up close yet. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Almost like stucco or oil paint.
It's
something.
definitely a textured paint feel
Yeah.
to it, which was kind of fun. And the first like week or so, they actually had the artist who had done this there so he could sign
cool.
the magnets, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I was not there for that,
Yep.
but it's still cool to have an ad.
It's cooler than just like a regular pass holder logo. It's kind of neat that it's got, and the coloring is, I think, interesting, and that's neat.
Yeah, I would have loved to be able to watch more of the performance art stuff that was going on.
Sure.
They had a performance artist who was painting to loud rock music and getting like this huge painting done in like 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
They also had like acrobatic aerial lists outside of the ones that you see at like the China Pavilion.
Sure.
But they had them showing off their prowess as well, and that was pretty good. They had this one I did see. They had a rock. I'm doing
Fingers. Thinking fingers.
No, it's the instrument. There you go. A rock harpist.
That I'm into. That I can get behind.
They were bouncing around and like bring, 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 bring. I don't know. That's me doing a horrible impression of not the song he was playing. But it was still enjoyable and energetic, showing again that art is not just visual.
Not
it
just
is
a museum and classic fine art. Yes.
So it was a lot of fun. And if you have a chance to go in the next week, I highly recommend to do it. If not, honestly, this is kind of one of my favorite festivals. Now, that being said, I do love Festival of the Arts, but I also love food and wine as well. But that's because I am a foodie, and I also love the flower and garden because I am a flower gardening kind of person. That just fell apart. But I mean, if I were to actually pick one, I think Festival of the Arts is my favorite.
Interesting.
Because it gives you more content to look at, more things to do, more like specialty things to be included in without having to have extra cost or be something like visceral that you can actually get into and play with versus, that's a pretty bush. Oh, that's a pretty sculpture, but you can't really do anything. So that's where I'm at with it. I'd love to see them extend that and do
some more with it. Maybe a little bit longer so people can go see it.
Exactly.
So I'd like to go see that one because I think it's the one that I haven't done. Minus the Christmas one, which I guess we're not counting really.
No, we're not counting that one. But have you guys been?
Yes.
What was your favorite part of Festival of the Arts?
Something that you want us to see next
time. We will be doing the Flower and Garden Festival when it comes around. And would you like to see us do like a live video while we're down there? If you're interested, let us know. Or else we'll just probably end up doing a wrap-up video like this one when we get back from it. But let us know your thoughts, comments,
questions, concerns,
all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
This has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.